trying to bring y'all into my groove. Muted? Y'all can't hear me? Audio testing. Testing.
Testing. I'll say testing, testing. Is that better? Green light is going better. Green light is going better. Jeez. Is this better? All right. Thanks, James. Sorry. The settings on my thing just automatically change. Like I said, I had a listener that I was communicating with that was going to make a contribution to give me a new mic, and on my all strictly on myself, self-sabotaging. But I had some travels and some projects, and I fell off, and I didn't follow through with this person that contacted me and says, "Listen, I'm sick of watching you struggle, and I'm gonna holler at you, and we're gonna see about getting you a new mic." And I didn't reach out to them, and then like a couple of weeks had passed, and I had gotten back from where was I? Kansas City. I had gotten back from Kansas City, and I was embarrassed to reach out to them because it took so long, and I was afraid. I'm like, "Hey, this is BroDiallo. I'm here to holler at you about the mic," and I didn't want them to be like, "Man, step off, grab your purse and get lost, wrap a scarf around your throat and go back and catch the boat." So I felt like I waited too long. Yeah, you too. Yeah, I mean, people will get on you about your tech, man. They'll get on you. You go, come on here. Don't matter the quality. I got to get one of them OnlyFans setups, Ring cameras and high HD. Not that I know anything about an OnlyFans. Somebody told me. I heard somebody mention the quality of OnlyFans. I mean, shoot, you know, I got to get me one of them setups because I heard that's just like theatrical quality. Anyway, we're here now. Let's speed run this shit before the shit goes out. It's all Black History Month is almost over. Every question I ask this question every Black History Month, and I never ever get an answer. And my question is to the people who recognize and observe and participate in Black History Month. My question is, what are you going to do 4 days from now? So from March the 1st to January 31st, what do you do? How do you engage with Black history differently than you do on February? Because I don't really, it's just like, like if it was oat milk latte month, because I do oat milk lattes a couple of times a week. If there was a special day or month to recognize oat milk lattes, I can't imagine what I'd do. So it's not even that I'm trying to disrespect or disregard Black History Month. Now, I do think Black History Month, it's not, but I think we as African people, we should have rendered Black History Month obsolete within a generation. It should have been rendered obsolete a century ago. And Black History Month is not simply the fact that you need, and like I said, if you got a month in America, if you got a holiday or a day of recognition or a month of recognition in this country, that means you're getting effed over. That means you're getting played. Secretary Month, Firefighter, Sibling Month, Hispanic Heritage, Asian American. If you got a day, I mean, this country will commit genocide, colonize, oppress you, but you'll get a month. So it's almost like, damn, what if we didn't have a month or days? Women's History Month, queer, gay. I mean, you got Pride Month. If you got a month in this country, I know here comes somebody with the history. Well, Carter G. Woodson established Negro History Month, which became Black History, blah, 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 blah. We know that. To demonstrate what we studied? Is that true? And I never heard that. I knew about Carter G. Woodson Negro History Week and Black History Month, and it's in February because that was like Frederick Douglass' birthday and all that. I know that, but I didn't know that was we were supposed to just showcase. And again, it's kind of weird that Black History Month is a pursuit. It's an academic, scholarly pursuit, and then you have a specific day. I mean, how so? And it just always seemed weird to me, but now they're going to rebrand it. If that's the case, then I guess I stand corrected, because like I guess I'll be coming up with bullet points or a PowerPoint. Do y'all still do PowerPoint? A PowerPoint on what I've learned about my history. That because it's never been. I've been doing Black History Month since I was in Knott's Elementary School, and they put up that picture of Jesse Jackson in the afro. When I first saw Jesse Jackson in real life and he didn't have on a dashiki and an afro, I'm like, that's not Jesse Jackson. Because even in the 90s, in the 2000s, they were still using pictures of Jesse from the 60s. And Sojourner Truth, and of course, Martin Luther the King, at Knott's in my youth, because I went to a public school and then a Catholic high school, and Malcolm X wasn't. But I remember those cards, those little placards with the little half paragraph about what this great person done did. You know, and it's always the most palatable Black folks. You know, and I don't know why our history has been perverted by the great man fallacy. That a great man, and some would say woman now, but back then, a great man came and did a magnificent thing and thus made history. When no man has ever made history. Kwame Ture taught us that history is only made by the action, the will, the movement of the people. That is no man. He said if I know I'm not going to quote him directly, but Kwame Ture said if George Washington went up and bucked his chest out at the British, the red coats, they'd have mowed his ass down, and the British Empire would go on, wouldn't be no America. It was the merchant class and the agricultural class and the hijacked Shanghai workers and the Native Americans that they recruited and lied to, and the conscripted Black Africans. All these people who we don't have names for made history, but we distill it down to one person. Like Martin Luther King. They said if Martin Luther King had went to Birmingham, it wouldn't have been nothing. It wouldn't have been remarkable. But because King had a bunch of sharecroppers, a bunch of industrial workers, a bunch of Black unionists behind him, those are the true people who made history. And so we all fall down to the great man fallacy. There is no man that makes history, no individual who makes history. But they like to distill it down on both sides, on all people's history, these historical figures. Because I think part of that is to indoctrinate the masses into not accepting the fact that the people make history and the people are the source of history. You know. Anyway, now I got somebody, but I'm glad you go ahead and tell that lie. I'm gonna have to put this up here one more time. Okay, he said he wrote journals. It was a showcase of our history. To who? Who are we showcasing our history to? Integer. Who do we showcase? Because if we've all been studying history, we showcase to each other and teach what we learned? Or do we show to white folks? Because a lot of Black history is demonstrating our worthiness and our humanity to white people. That's a lot of, we did good things, we did great things, we built this shitty city. But I guess, I'm going to say, because there are a lot of Black history, I can't front. I used to get invited a lot. Man, I used to be a popular dude. And now I feel like a guy. I should have like a Letterman jacket and my high school ring. Talking about how I was popular back in the day. But I used to be a popular dude. I know y'all not gonna believe me over the last few years, but I used to get called out, flued out all the time. And I would be brought out to speak at citywide Kwanzaa events. I'd be speaking at gatherings of Black teachers, gatherings of Black psychologists, out to speak on all these different. I used to get called out a lot. Nobody calls me out no more. I am not, no, don't nobody liked me. I'm not very liked. I said some things I didn't have to say, and people would call me out, and they would give me these parameters. And I'm very respectful. I don't play. I'm not some type of thuggish, ruggish bone. I'm a dude. I draw within the lines. So I would get called out, and they would give me these very specific parameters to speak on. And then I would speak on those parameters, and then I say, and I ask, I never assume, is this open to audience engagement, Q&A, comments, engage? If it's opened up, let your boy know. If not, I'll give my talk and be about my way. Go see if it's any vegan vendors in the food court. That's what I go. I go to a festival event. All I'm looking for is some cowrie shell jewelry, some African beads, and vegan food. That's it. And they'd be like, yeah, if there's time, we can have questions. And a moderator will have me ask questions. And then the audience will take us off somewhere. Like one time I was called out to speak about veganism and chronic disease. Are there some dietary changes that people in the Black community? First, I was called out to speak about chronic disease and its impact on Black people, from our diet, lifestyle, and living under oppressive racism and access to adequate, nutritious food. Our understanding, I was supposed to talk about chronic disease, and then I was supposed to talk about remedies. And of course, you know me, I'm going to go with my own propaganda. I'm going to push veganism. I'm going to come through the door with veganism. Let me start this. I want to get back to you. I appreciate your lessons, Integer, but we've moved on, but I'm going to come back to that. And so they were like, yeah. And so I open it up and I expect people to say, like, where can I get that delicious organic tofu? Or do you have some recipes? Or can you maybe go over your weekly menu and some help, some ways to transition? And everybody started wanting to talk about, and I'm there to talk about holistic food, holistic healing, chronic disease. And people are like, Farrakhan's going to be speaking downstairs in a couple of hours. Are you going down? And I answered the question. And I'm like, why would they call me to speak at a venue where the minister going to be at anyway? Want to be starting something. And so shit like that would always happen. And so anyway, all that to say is, I don't, maybe that's why I'm hating on Black History Month, because I am a hater, participator, a full hater, innovator, a hate now, never later hater. I am a hater, and so I can't get on here and complain about being hated on because I'm a hater myself. But maybe that's why I'm jaded. I used to have a full dance card every February, and the last week of December, I would have a dance card on the last week of December. In February, I'd be having double, triple bookings. And now I just sit here. I don't sit here at my desk, but I sit up there, with a big, because I got a gluttonous mug. I be sitting here trying to look proper. This little bitty mug, I got a huge mug. I just see it, boy. I got a damn soup bowl mug that I be sipping and playing my Xbox. That's how I spend my February. So maybe that's it. Maybe I just got some, February, Black History Month is catching strays. But I think that Black history, we had some illusions about Black history that have been expelled. Like, once we learn our history, we'll instill pride in us. And when we learn that we come from greatness and we didn't come from slavery, we will get great pride in our history. And then when that pride will translate into us acting dignified in society and us acting dignified in society based on the pride that we learn from our history, then we will have doors open for us. Because the fact that we didn't know our history, we spoke slang, we didn't dress properly, we didn't conduct ourselves like civil and civilized people because we thought we came from nothing and we were savages. So when we learn our history, we will awaken. That's how it was sold to us. It wasn't we learn our history, we'd be mad as fuck and burn shit the fuck down. Because that's logical to me. Because when I learned about African history, I wrote a poem. I wrote a lot of shitty poems, but I have some decent ones. I said that history should not make our ego swell, but it should demonstrate how far we fell. So y'all folks reading history and getting pride, why does that pride not instantly translate to outrage? Like this is where we were, this was our trajectory. Over 90% of the African academia, African philosophy, African scrolls, African works of art, African civilization, architecture, over 90% of that shit was obliterated by the Arab slave trade and the European Christian. Arab Islamic and European Christians have obliterated 90%. And what they didn't obliterate, they took credit for. That shit pissed me off. And so I'm thinking, man, where are these black people that are learning our history? I know y'all out there because I hear y'all that get inspired to be better people, to be entrepreneurs, to achieve. See, we come from mathematics, Imhotep. We are architectures of the greatest of physical structures. And so you're inspired to go to this school and learn science and engineering because of Imhotep, and then you go work for Lockheed Martin. Don't make sense to me, but that's not how my brain works. Black history pisses me the fuck off. It pisses me off. I love the topic though. I love it. I love it. You know, I love learning history. I love reading about history. I love historical documentaries. I love going to historical places. But any awe or wonder that I feel is almost immediately translated into outrage. If you've ever been to the Brooklyn Museum, it has one of the best collections of African artifacts. And I am in awe of those artifacts and I'm outraged at the same time. But that's me. But here's the thing, that Africans being denied our humanity, at the same time we were denied our humanity, we were denied the ability to read, research, study. And so we did need things like Negro History Week to encourage not just learning our history, but to encourage us to gain literacy and to also encourage Black people to understand that we are not just beasts of burden, that we are not just valued by the labor that we can perform and the revenue we can generate, but we can also we also had philosophy. We also had great thinkers, great minds. We also conceptualized government. We conceptualized and cultivated and developed and sustained civilizations. But it's weird because that part of history seems to be overlooked and devalued. But all that, moving on. Happy Black History Month for y'all who observe it. And Integer, I hope you can work better at telling Black folks that studying our history is a year-round, monthly, weekly, daily endeavor. And Black History Month is not about focusing on our history, but demonstrating to, I'm not sure who, you didn't specify who, but I guess other Black people, what we've learned over the years. You know, And that hasn't been my experience. I've been to several Black History Month events, formal and informal, and that hasn't been my history of what I've heard. But I like what you say, Integer. So maybe I'm wrong and I'm out of the loop. We're moving on. You know, today's topic. Let's just get into it. Let's jump in with both feet. Let's jump into it with both feet. The dude today, a Black Trump supporter. I've been purging my socials. Fortunately, I haven't had to do this in real life. Like I, in real life, flesh and bone, do not know one Black Trump supporter. And if there are Black Trump supporters in my life, then shout out to y'all, because y'all slick as fuck. Because I be looking, but I don't be seeing. And so all the Black Trump supporters, all the Black right wingers, all the Black ultra conservative right wing Republicans, every single one of them that I know is strictly online. And I've been blocking them, just purging them. And the reason I purge them, because I don't get rid of people I disagree with. Because me, for a long time, and this is, my true value system. For a long time, I had a lot of warped positions on a lot of issues. I myself, I've never been a conservative, but I was raised in Covenant and baptized in Covenant Memorial Baptist Church. I was raised in a poor Black community, but it had essentially conservative Western values. There have been times where I've been an integrationist liberal. I've been sexist. I've been homophobic. Only thing on that LGBT, I didn't even know what a trans was back in the 90s, early 2000s. I didn't know what a trans person was. I'd never heard of it. But if I knew about transgenderism, I'd hate transgender people. But so back then, I believed that women should submit. I believed at one time in my life that women, because according to the Apostle Paul, that women, it's not that just women were not allowed to speak in church, but women could not hold authority over a man because the woman was the first entity to fall to sin. And the woman is not only the first entity to fall to sin, but immediately after she fell to sin, she corrupted Adam. So women are cursed, women are inferior, women are less intelligent, all that shit. I believed that shit. I believed it. I read The Anatomy of Female Power. I read what's that shit? The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. And I read that shit. I was even reading the Malamu Baruti, homosexuality. What I think that was up. Here it is. I read this shit. Man, I read this shit. And I had 2 sons, and I'm like, man. I had 1 son, but I read this shit. I'm like, yo, they're not gonna get my sons. Yeah, 20 years ago. Or 22 years ago. And I took copious notes in this book. I highlight. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta save my son. I don't know if this highlighter is picked up on the. You can pick up highlight. There's notes all in the margins. I didn't just read this shit. So I'm saying all that to say, I evolved. I am evolving. And fortunately, 99 or 98, maybe 95% of my reactionary views and my regressive positions, there was no social media. There was, I mean, hell, now what's that shit called? MySpace wasn't even around back then. If MySpace was around, I wasn't on it. Back even before Black Planet. So even though I call them out, I mock them, I expose them, It's not my instinct or my motivation to say, hey, this person has reactionary politics. This person has fallacious positions and conclusions. This person has some anti-African conclusions and points of view. I don't block them. This person is sexist, misogynistic. This person is homophobic, transphobic. This person, it has fallen to right-wing media and is even regurgitating right-wing talking points. I don't just go and say, what, blockity, block, block, block. I don't do that shit. In my life, now I do know some reactionary people in real life. I don't know no Trump supporter, but I do. But I engage with them because when I was over there, when I was on that Dr. Fubar bullshit, there were people that were patient with me. There were people that discussed with me. There were people who debated me. There were people who debunked me. There were people who called me out to my face. And I appreciate that. And I feel obligated that if I encounter somebody who's still growing, who's still developing, I feel it's my obligation because somebody did it for me. Now, my lessons came mostly face-to-face in the streets, organizing in various organizations and face-to-face debates. Because again, like I said, most of my reactionary or black, empty militancy, I call a lot of empty militancy when a black person has righteous rage, righteous justified anger, but misdirects that anger. I call that empty militancy because we have every right to be militant, but we also have the responsibility and obligation to properly direct that militancy. All that to say is, this is a relatively new thing for me. Generally, when I disagree with someone politically, I don't block them automatically. But, it's late in the fucking day. Some shit is too far. Like, I'm a vegan. I have friends who eat, who consume animal byproducts. I have people I love and care about who drink animal excretions and consume the rotting, putrid flesh of animals. I got close people, family that do that shit, but I don't cut them off. I'm having conversations with them. But if I have a friend who ate feces, I don't think I can hang out with you no more. There's the time, there's doing wrong, then there's way wrong. There's just out of pocket. There's being bad, and then there's being beside yourself. So you know how many times I done bumped heads with black folks out here talking about Obama. I just had somebody that I'm close to. I go over people's house that I know. I ain't gonna say no names because her or her husband might be watching, but I go over these dear family friends. We be cool like that. And they got these goddamn coffee table books of the Obamas. And they have like this big ass, that Becoming book, that stupid ass Becoming book. That's sitting right there on the coffee table. Like every direction you look in their main area, because they got this really nice fireplace, nice house. They living better than me. Maybe that's the real problem. They got this nice, and then they got this big window in the back, but you come to the foyer and you look, and everywhere you look in their house, there's some Obama-nography. That's a new term. Obama-nography. Obama porn. There's a first family. And they ain't just Obama and Michelle and the daughters too. And it's 2025. Obama been gone. Obama's in the wind. He's out somewhere getting choked out by Sir Branson. He's in a reverse headlock. Got him in a yoke. On a yacht. Obama's in a yoke on a yacht with a billionaires. That's what he's been doing since he ended his presidency. Don't make me pull the pictures up. But I come over the house, and if it's a cordial visit, then I ain't gonna bring it. But they know how I feel. And sometimes they might say something, Obama this, and we go back and forth, and I try to convince them that Obama is an international war criminal. Obama is not worthy of our praise or support. Obama should be a cautionary tale, and we should condemn Obama, not praise him, and his wife. His wife is a class traitor. And all of that. But I don't cut them off. I would never cut them off because their politics and my politics don't match. And there are things where I even work with them. But if I walk in a black person's house and I see some MAGA shit, I can't do it. I think, like I said, if I go over your house and you eating meat, I might tell you, hey, that ain't my thing. I'm not participating. I might tell you, listen, when you're done roasting that carcass, call me back. I'll be back. But if I come over your house and you're eating excrement, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. There's bad, then there's absolute worse. And I could deal with people doing wrong, but I can't deal with people doing the fucking worst. But that's me. That's my tolerance level. Some of y'all, and I see some of y'all out here trying to talk to these rabid coons. Like, if I see a coon in my yard, I ain't gonna trip. But if I see a rabid coon, gotta put it down. Some of y'all so sophisticated. Some of y'all so black. Some of y'all so righteous. Y'all don't see no difference. Y'all say it's no difference. I think that's dumb as hell. And I'm sick of explaining that, recognizing the difference in evil factions. You have this gigantic, entrenched reality of white hegemony. You have the proponents of white hegemony, those who control, who sustain, who direct white hegemony. You have the cannon fodder of white hegemony, people who are not capitalist, who are not white, but actively and enthusiastically perform services and work to sustain that. You have the victims of it. And it's a very wide, huge, multifaceted, multi-level, entrenched system. And you think within that system, there's uniformity, and you can't recognize the distinction, which is dumb as hell. Like, there are so many different black organizations, black factions, black ideologies. Some of them claim to want the exact same thing, but they have different methods of getting it. Some of them claim to represent black people, but they want completely different outcomes. Some of these black factions that want to free us, they all define freedom differently. Some of them define freedom of every black person having a business and having an account at a black bank and being able to buy their toilet tissues and toothpaste from black-owned companies and owning their house and having their mortgage. They think that shit's freedom. While all this other capitalistic, all this other shit going in the background, that's not relevant if black people have the cash money and the business license and the degrees to live comfortably under the current system as it is. That's somehow some black people define freedom of us not only going back to Africa, but going back in time. It's not even enough to go back to Africa, but we must live as Africans in the 8th or 5th century. They want to ban all modern technology, all modern ideas, all modern conditions. Some people call them primitivists, but they don't just want to go back home. They want to go back in time. And they think anything that was invented, anything from the modern world is not African. I have black people tell me atheism ain't African. If Africans weren't doing it 500 years ago, then it's not valid. The only things valid are things that Africans did during the African antiquity. I understand how you get there. I understand it. You know, I had a brother who I organized with for years, and he said his ultimate dream is to live off grid. He didn't want electricity. He didn't want any plastic. He didn't want any smelted metal. He wanted a carved wooden life. He wanted everything in his life to be carved out of wood or stone. He didn't want to have to wear shoes. He wanted to walk bare feet on uncontaminated soil. And he said he was waiting to get married and waiting to have a child because he wanted to have a child born at home by a midwife, or he delivered the child himself, and the home he lived in would have no synthetic or artificial materials in the house. There would be no electricity or electrical waves coming through the house. The house would be completely off grid. There would be no automobile. The child would be reared on breast milk and well water. I'm not kidding you. And he would try to live close to that. And even then, while he was working to construct that life, he would only wear clothing made and shoes made by African hands. And then he had this polygamous family that lived in Queens, and he would go there and they would construct clothes for him, and he wouldn't wear clothing. And so, like I said, when you look at African people, not even all African people, because way too many African people want to live in a Western capitalist uh, life or live a Arabic Islamic life. They want to be anything but African. They want to be Native American. But amongst the conscious African people, I wonder if he's there. I ain't heard from dude in a long time. But if you want to know who I'm talking about, I don't think he'd mind. If you look at the Dead Prez video, it's bigger than hip hop. And the dude with the long locks who choreographed all the martial arts stuff, that's the guy I'm talking about. I think he might be off grid now because I ain't heard from him in years. I used to see him, talk to him on a regular basis. We lived together for a short while. But anyway, amongst all these African people, there are so many, even the Africans who claim to believe the same thing and want the same thing, there are grand distinctions between these groups. The Kawaiitas and the Pan-Africanists, the Black nationalists. There's all these different groups. And we ain't even got power. We don't even control the means of production. We ain't got no nukes. But y'all look at these superpowers, legitimate superpowers, and say it's all the same. Ain't no difference between Biden and Trump. Ain't no difference between Kamala and Trump. It don't make no difference. It's the same. And I tell you, even if they want to do the same shit, they have different means of doing it. Oh, Wildflower, get you some green tea next time. But yeah, it'll be on the Diallo Kenyatta YouTube, so you can catch it. But I digress. So I do acknowledge. Not only do I acknowledge, and this is another weird ass thing that Black people take. I acknowledge this. There's difference amongst the white factions. I know that the capitalists whose main investments and holdings are oil, gas, and coal, and shipping, rail and shipping magnates, billionaires, have certain antagonistic positions on the new billionaires, the tech bros, and these new technological billionaires and the old world barons. And so you have the old world money, the DuPonts, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and you have the new world money, Peter Thiel, the Thiels, and it's just one person at this point because, or the old world Koch brothers, and they have a common objective: exploit the world to collapse, hyper exploitation of all things in existence for their personal enrichment. But they have different means of getting there, and they have some serious beef. Oh my God. Let me tell you something. When your wife, I don't know if y'all still, my wife sends me a text, I have to respond immediately. You be married 20 years and you don't respond to a text. Who is she? Stay over there with that bitch. No, she ain't like that. We ain't got it like that. I'm joking. Sometimes I wish we had it like that, just to make shit lively. I go online and look at these sloppy dudes and I'll be like, man, I could do that better. But I don't do it at all. But I think if I did it, but that's fine. Because my wife does the same thing. She look at some of these sloppy women on these reality shows and this Zeus Network shit. We don't have Zeus Network, but we look at some of the YouTube clips from the Zeus Network, and we be looking like, man, if that was me, I could have done it this way, done it that way, so I'm just saying. Anyway, she know better than text me 7 o'clock on a Monday, but she don't care. Anyway, where was I? So I'm just saying, it's crazy to me that if you watch the BroDiallo show over the years, for me to sit here and just say, there's a difference. There's a difference between Democrats and Republicans, even within the Democratic Party, there are factions and conflicts within the Democratic Party. And amongst the Republicans, they have even more internal conflicts and contradictions and choke points than the Democrats do. And then when you look at the Western, old world Western empires and their racism, and the racism of Central Europe or Eastern Europe and former blocs, they're all racist, but the racism manifests a different way. And the American or New World racist and North American racism, and the reason we have to understand these distinctions, and we're not in a comfortable position to say it's all. And I love Khalid Muhammad, but Khalid Muhammad, one of his most popular quotes is "A cracker is a cracker is a cracker is a cracker," but that's just not the case, and it leaves us vulnerable because if we think there is a uniform way to engage in imperialism, capitalism, hegemonic overrule and hegemonic oppression, if you think there's only one manifestation, the moment a white person comes who doesn't exhibit this uniform behavior, you get confused. You might even think the person who's trying to destroy you is there to save you because that person doesn't act like the other one. And for the longest time, you said it ain't no difference. And then not only do you think in your own weak analysis that there's no difference, you go out and tell other folks, ain't no difference. They're all the same. Ain't no difference. Don't matter if you vote Democrat or Republican. It don't matter. It don't matter. Left wing, right wing, same bird. And if you think that, the moment the average person who has been misinformed in such a way or drew the conclusion themselves, and then a white person comes from left field, a white person comes who ain't even white. Or a white person comes who says, I'm not white, I'm brown. I'm Latinx, Hispanic. I'm Indian. And when a white person comes with an accent or a good tan, we get confused. But if we draw the conclusion, the accurate and historically demonstrated conclusion that amongst our enemies and oppressors, there is a wide distinctions. There is extreme amount of diversity. When you hear the word, and I hate the term diversity being associated with black folks getting up under and between the cheeks of white folks. Because you could have all lily white and it's still extremely diverse. And the reason you need to understand that is because this system is so well entrenched, so well resources, that it has the ability to be extremely dynamic. And so when you overcome one form or you overcome the system, or even if you decolonize your country and drive out all the white folks, and it's nothing but black people in the government, in the hierarchy, in the military, in industry, and they all black, but yet you're still in the same colonial situation because this system is so thorough and well entrenched. So not only do we have to recognize the diversity amongst white folks, and white domination is so diverse that it can employ Asians, Indians, Africans, so easily. So it's almost scary to me that we refuse to respect the complexity of our oppressors, our enemies, and their systems, their strategies, and tactics. It blows my mind. So I think anybody out here saying there's no difference between Democrats and Republicans. And what's even weirder, let me go to this. There are people in our community, scholars even, who claim that things can't get worse. Things are as bad as they could possibly fucking be, which is a weird fucking take to me. So when you say, hey, let's engage in some harm reduction, let's stop, let's slow this shit down, let's halt, back it up, and reverse it. And they was like, well, you ain't gonna say nothing, you ain't gonna change anything. And they don't care. And let me tell you something about these people that say, hey, it doesn't matter if Trump or Democrat or Republican or Kamala, it doesn't matter if Kamala wins or loses. And what I always notice about those people, who have these pure political positions, because I didn't support Kamala. I think that the only reason why I don't call Kamala an international war criminal like I call Obama is because she never held the executive power. She was a vice president. She was a member of the cabinet. She was a symbolic member of the Senate, but she held no real power. So she can't be held responsible for the crimes of the Biden administration, even though she endorsed and supported the crimes of the Biden administration. She had no constitutional or legal authority to carry out. So she would even go out and advocate and support and lie about and provide cover for the many atrocities of the Biden administration. Even when she got out there talking about don't come, like a dissatisfied housewife, don't come. Hold on a little longer. Even though that's the case, I don't call her a war criminal. But I promise you, if Kamala had taken power and taken the oath of office, it wouldn't have been 24 hours before she could be labeled an international war criminal. Because anybody elected president that sustains the status quo, because the United States is engaged in perpetual international war crimes. So by taking the oath of office, you automatically become an international war criminal. And what's crazy is these are according to the UN, according to the Hague. These are by their own laws. I'm not even judging them by our laws. I didn't vote for Jill Stein. Jill Stein played you. She's a sucker. I ain't voting for Jim Stein. And I'm only voting, I will continue to vote Green Party, but only in local election and for local seats. Beyond, I will vote for a Green Congress candidate, but I will never, ever again. I didn't vote for the Green candidate this time, and I won't vote for a Green candidate going forward. And the reason I don't vote for Jill Stein is because election cycles since 1992, when, as far as I go, I first was eligible to vote in the early 90s. I think the first, it's been so long, I'm so old, y'all. Clinton, no, it was Gore versus Bush. That's my first election, Gore versus Bush. And the Green Party has been engaged in, right on, there you go, Claudia, that's it. Is that the Green Party has lost every single presidential election. And I ask Green Party officials and the Green Party activists that I know, you lose every fucking year, but you never change your strategy or tactics or messaging. So you're not there to win elections. How do you lose year after year after year, even with the dominant parties? When the Democrats lost back to back to Reagan, you see the Democratic Party did a complete revamp. I don't support the revamp. And you look at when they formed the Democratic leadership, the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Council, they went to the drawing board and reworked their whole approach, their whole branding, their whole strategy, their whole leadership. We lost to Reagan back to back in a landslide. So they flipped that shit. And so we see, even with the dominant parties that juggle power back and forth to each other, when they lose over consecutive terms, when they were like, damn, we lost to Reagan twice, and then we had Bush, we can't have this. And that's when they reworked their whole shit. So how you never won, not once, and somebody sit down and explain to me, because every single fucking election strategy, there should be a brand new tactics, brand new methods, brand new messaging. But they don't, because they're not there to win. And I don't fuck around. Shit is real out here. People ain't going to be able to get their fucking insulin now. There's going to be even more toxins admitted. You know, planes are dropping out the fuck. Shit is real out here. I don't play with politics. You tell Jill Stein and the Green Party, play with your mama, don't play with me. But anyway, I digress. Let me forget where I was. Don't be mentioning that old hustler scammer. Jill Stein is a scammer. Did I say it's Jill Stein? I love how people are like, well, but I'm going to slow it down. Let me slow it down. Let me make this shit remedial. My problem is not with any individual. I said it is with the party. But when she is their reoccurring candidate for president, she has a prominent position in the party. So as a candidate, to the extent that a candidate can be held culpable for stagnation, because you're supposed to be the progressive party. How the fuck can you say we're going to progressively transform the government, but you can't even progressively transform your own party? But you notice I said the Green Party, and I talked about where I will still vote Green Party in local candidacy. I voted for a Green Party candidate in the local water reclamation district. I support green policies, the green policy platform. But I said at the presidential level, because they are running a scam, they are running a hustle, and they're not doing the most fundamental political strategy they are not executing. So it's one of two things. They are running a scam in terms of deflecting votes, or it's an ego vanity project. It's either an ego vanity project, and I tell you, I voted socialist. I supported the Socialist Party in this thing. But if they come back in 4 years and I don't see any adjustments and amendment and transformation of their tactics, and if I don't see any year-long outreach and vote, then I'm going to call them out too. This ain't a game. And see, that's another thing. How is a third party supposed to win? There is a way. But you don't hear me, though. That's a whole nother discussion that y'all don't want to hear. But that is a valid question. How can a third party win? There is a way for a third party to emerge. But y'all don't hear me. But y'all don't want to do politics. Y'all just want to be righteous. Y'all want to be the fucking good guys. We're more concerned with being good than we are winning. And believe it or not, that's a bad thing when it comes to politics and revolution. Being more concerned with being right and being more concerned with being good than you are with winning. When winning and success is not held at the same level of righteousness, then you just playing patty cake. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Look at these motherfucking. Wow. So keep voting blue no matter who. Exactly what I said. If that's okay, log off and go to bed. Log off, drink your milk, and take your ass to bed, because this is grown folks. We grown folks talking over here. What's that quote about? You can let people think you're ignorant, or you can open your mouth and confirm it for them. That's exactly what I said. Vote blue no matter who. That's exactly what I said. If that's what you're taking away from what I said, I don't know. I must sound like a goddamn Peanuts adult. Because and it doesn't matter what you say. People gonna take it how they take it. So I'm gonna just say what I say. People gonna hear what they hear, and then we'll all move forward expedition. But anyway, one thing I noticed about a lot of these people who refuse to engage with politics strategically, they engage politics with all this bluster and self-righteousness. They won't do it strategically. And I love when people ask me shit. Listen, my new rule is if you ask me something specific, then you better carry out my answer. But I digress. Is that you'll notice a lot of these people that take these grand, righteous political positions, non-strategic, non-tactical, just righteous. Them motherfuckers, they not on welfare. They don't get WIC or food stamps. Their kids either don't go to public school. Their kids either got their college tuition already paid for. They don't have student loans. They probably own their homes or have a reasonably price mortgage, have a reasonable interest rate on their mortgage, or own their houses outright. They ain't even got a car note. They don't have any chronic or severe ailments. They're not on Medicaid. A lot of these affluent revolutionaries, a lot of these affluent, well-positioned revolutionaries that are quite comfortable regardless. They're A lot. They're not female. They're not women. They're not. They tend to be cisgendered heterosexual men, or they are married to cisgendered heterosexual men. There's a lot of comfortable revolutionaries out here that say, "Hey, I'm here for the grand struggle. I will be at the front line when the revolution starts. I'll be at the front line. But between oppression and revolution's way over here, oppression's over here, and between oppression and revolution, all this little shit y'all try to do to make it, to sustain yourself, to even get a little something for yourselves, that's beneath me. I don't have to concern myself with that. So I'm not going to vote in interest of Pell Grants, or I'm not going to vote to maintain access to reproductive services up to and including abortion, because I'm so righteous. Harm reduction, reform. Oh, you want to reform? Are you a reformist? No, I just want to be able to afford my insulin. I might want a little loan forgiveness down the line somewhere. That's fucked up. And every time I talk like this, people are like, "Oh, you said vote blue no matter who." Hell no, you don't vote blue no matter. And so I don't accept your revolutionary pedigree if you're not tactical and strategic. But that's enough of that. Let's move on. We are where we are. Because I said, and I'm guilty of this, there's a difference between having fascists in your society. Someone had mentioned in the comments a little earlier that America has always had fascists. There have always been fascists in the United States since the founding of fascists. And in fact, the people who invented fascism used United States as a blueprint for how to construct fascism. The United States has always been fascist. No, well, it has always had fascist policies, fascist components, and fascist people. But there is a difference, I must say. There is a difference. Oh, you all right? Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, it's time, y'all. I'm sorry. Give me a moment. KMC. Show me on this Black Panther doll where the BroDiallo audience has wronged you. Show me. Show me, point to where, or type in on this Black Panther doll where the BroDiallo audience. Should I turn it around? Show me on this. I stole this from my niece. I didn't steal it. She went off to college and left it in her room. And I went over to there to help her mom move some stuff. Her mom was taking over her room and she left it. So finders keepers, right? This, like, I discovered this Black Panther doll. I didn't steal it. Okay, KMK. Another hurt. Show me. Okay, just take a moment. I'll hold it up one more time. Front view, side view, rear view. Type in the comments where the BroDiallo audience harmed you, and I will see to it that they apologize. Okay. And see, I gotta stop playing with y'all. But anyway, the reality is America's bad. America been bad. But also the historical reality is, and we disrespect the struggles and sacrifices of our ancestors. African people and other targeted, oppressed, discriminated populations in this society have been able to secure concessions from the system. And those concessions were not liberation, they were not freedom, and they would not justify the cessation of our larger liberation struggles. But they are things that we as a community or individuals within our community can utilize. There are some broad, non-specific things, and then there are some specific targeted things. It is not a surrender, and it is not a validation of the system to acknowledge these concessions that our ancestors and other freedom fighters and strugglers and organizers and reformists have secured for us. So I can sit here and say, I think it is a good thing. When I was a child, a poor Black child, and my mama would pull up at the gas station, and she would tell me, get the leaded gas because it was the cheapest gas. I spent much of my childhood pumping leaded gas into the tank of whatever old car my mother was able to duct tape together. I think it is a good thing that the government policy was to outlaw leaded gasoline. I think many policies coming out of the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, my children were able to wear pajamas that didn't have hormone disrupting flame retardants embedded in the fabric. Does that mean that my environment's clean? No. Does that mean the polar ice caps are no longer melting? No. But the question is that it's simple. If you have the option of organizing against the system and at the same time having access to abortion or not having access to abortion, under what conditions do you want to fight? With abortion or out? Do you want to fight for freedom with price capped prescriptions or no cap on prescriptions? Do you want to organize in a city that has a needle program or doesn't have a needle program? It's that simple. And these motherfuckers are like, none of that means nothing. I had a brother I still respect tell me that those are literally garnish issues off to the side because he ain't going to get pregnant. And not only that, but let me move on. So we as revolutionaries, we who want to tear this motherfucker down and build something that is diametrically opposed to this system, a system that is not oriented around accumulation. The economy is not oriented around accumulation, but an economy that is oriented around serving the needs of the people while preserving the ecosystems from which we derive our ability to live. We do not have to trade one for the other. We can be humane and revolutionary. We can give a fuck and be empathetic and revolutionary. In fact, the only way to be a true revolutionary is to be both humane and empathetic. Absolute hatred of the enemy and love of the persecuted. So it's mad curious to me. But I'm going to another part now. We are losing ground. We are regressing. And even though I'm not about to dance in the street about any of the integrationist policies, DEI, affirmative action, and all these other set-asides and programs, I'm not going to mourn their loss. But there's a difference between understanding the political climate and the trajectory of the society. When the society does have these tokenistic symbolic policies, and when they rip it away. So it's not just about the loss of the policies, it's about what the people in power are communicating, not just to us, but to their own, to the white masses. So even if you do not lament the loss of DEI and the government going anti-woke, even if you are sophisticated to understand that DEI was never about our advancement, and it's sophisticated to understand that there is no such thing as the woke mind virus and the woke is propaganda. The fact that the people in power are utilizing these tropes and scapegoating these populations has to tell you that the United States is reorienting. Now, the United States has the same goal. Obama and Trump have the same goal, but they have extremely different methodology. They have a different timeline. They have different allies and enemies towards that objective. And these motherfuckers, I have to say, if you couldn't roadblock Obama, you didn't have no smoke for Biden, You weren't able to obstruct Biden. You can't do shit for Trump. So a lot of these people that will sit there and tell you there's no difference between Kamala or Democrats and Republicans, Kamala and Trump. And then when Trump takes office, they flip the rhetoric. Now the rhetoric is it's the Democrats' fault because of their atrocities in Palestine. But if it's no difference, why are you faulting anybody? Oh, the Democrats lost because of A, B, and C. And they explain why the Democrats lost, and it's not true. That's not why the Democrats lost. Go read Greg Palast if you want to know why the Democrats lost. Go read the book Rat Fucked if you want to know why. So they're untrue, but they want to rewrite history a little bit. Because I say to a lot of these pro-black, conscious, militant people, it's the only appropriate position to oppose the Democrats from is the left. If you are left of the Democrats, that's good. But if you are criticizing the Democrats from the left, you also have to educate and target the right. We tell black folks don't go Democrat and forget to tell them that Republican is not a viable option either. Like these black people that love to talk about how Christianity is a slave religion and then watch our people run to Islam and they don't blink. But I digress. Let's talk about Trump himself. Because what I'm also getting a lot of is people acting so stupid. Too stupid to be a slave. Kwame Ture says some Negroes are too stupid to be a slave. And what that really means is the reason you're too stupid to be a slave is you will be enslaved and not even recognize that you're in slavery. You'll be in shackles and chains out here thinking I was a free man. So you're too stupid to be a slave, which translates when he said that, he said some of these Negroes are too stupid to be a slave. It's too dumb to even recognize the very obvious condition and position that you hold. So these too stupid to be a slave Negroes are out here. I've had this said to me so many times. Trump is attacking our enemies. Trump is going after the things that are against us. So Trump and Elon Musk, felony Musk. Trump and Musk with the Department of Government Efficiency and the larger Trump administration is going after our traditional enemies in the government and literally saying we should celebrate and praise and be united with Trump because Trump's enemies are our enemies. So Trump is going after, number one, he's attacking the federal government, draining the swamp, all that. The federal government is the problem. And he's fighting. And these too stupid to be a slave motherfuckers, they don't even remember that Trump is not the first right-wing fascist to go after the federal government. Remember, in his opening speech, Ronald Reagan said the most terrifying words any American could hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. And here, what's the other one? Let me see. That was one of his most famous quotes. The most terrifying words any American could ever hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. And so black folks really sitting out here, Trump is going after the government. The government is what's oppressed us. The government is what kept us down. And if he's attacking the government and draining the government, then he must be for us. And believe it or not, I'm old enough. I was alive under Reagan. I was a little kid, but I was there. And my goddamn food stamps got cut. He cut my grandma's food stamp. He cut my grandma's food stamp. And my grandma was a retired secretary, and my grandma had to go back to work. She went back to work at a funeral home to be a receptionist, and then she started caring for other old people. My grandmother had to go back to work because she had adopted me, my baby brother, and my big sister. She had taken us on to raise us, to keep us from going to foster care. And when she did that, she became eligible for Medicaid, Medicare, and all that other stuff. Medicaid, food stamps, welfare. Oh, she also got a housing voucher, and so they reduced her rent. She was paying rent, and she was able to take this housing voucher, and so they reduced. And Reagan got elected shortly after that. And my old grandmother, who was already raised 6 kids, had to go back to work. It's fucked up. Not at all, man. Listen, I'm blessed and highly favored. I've had a good life. Y'all think because if somebody ain't got no money, they can't live good. When a lot of and even though every time you go on to the tabloids, you see people with millions and billions of dollars living miserable fucking lives. Elon's a miserable piece of shit. I had a good childhood thanks to my big sister and my uncles and my grandma and my great aunt and my great grandma Bowie and shit. I've been through a lot, but I appreciate, if I had went and took the easy way, wouldn't be the strong nigga that I am today. But anyway, black folks don't even realize going all the way back to Andrew Jackson. That's why when white folks say Trump is the worst president ever, go ahead. If you're cool with the white folks, sit them down and explain to them. But if you're not cool with them, chop them in the throat when they say, oh, Trump is the worst president ever. What you can say, white folks that want to really Trump, the difference between Trump and the other really bad white presidents is that he has some fucking nukes. Now, Andrew Jackson, so Trump is like, I wouldn't say Trump, and it's hard to compare them because they're all fucking horrible. If I had to pick the worst, like what's worse, syphilis or gonorrhea? It's hard to say what's worse. But like Woodrow Wilson, I can't say he's like Trump because Woodrow Wilson was a racist piece of shit. But he was also a scholar and an academic, which Trump is not. Andrew Jackson is close. I think if I had to do a historical comparison. But remember, Andrew Jackson was against the federal government. Andrew Jackson thought the federal government had committed horrible crimes in the Civil War. And so they always, damn. Allison came like gonorrhea is worse. Like you speaking, like okay. I can say that gonorrhea is worse than syphilis. Okay. You said that with authority, and maybe because you're a healthcare worker and you were. I ain't gonna say nothing suggestive, but damn, she came straight with the answer, no punctuation or nothing. Just like I can't say what's worse, but she's like I can. But anyway, I digress, Allison. Thank you for informing us. However you know is how you know. Knowledge is knowledge, no matter where you got it from. Okay, see, yeah, thanks. Thank you for clarifying. She works in SDI. Okay, yeah, I was about to say, she's like, shit, let me tell you, youngin', I know which is worse. Okay, anyway, what was I saying? Woodrow Wilson. All I'm saying is these right-wing populist politicians have always banged on the government. So don't think because Trump is attacking, condemning, and targeting government, the federal government as a whole, and agencies in the government, don't think this motherfucker is fighting, that sees those things as enemies, because he's not. Trump does not see the government as an enemy of the people. And Trump has no intention to protect the government, to protect us, or even white people from the government. I had somebody tell me he's attacking the FBI. He is attacking the FBI. But he's not dismantling or defanging the FBI. He's reorienting the FBI. He is purging. Every dictatorial administration does what they call a purge. It doesn't matter if it's a monarchical, totalitarian, or a theocratic, or a right-wing populist, or fascist administration, whether it's democratically elected, or it took power through a coup d'etat. These regimes always engage in government purges. He wants the FBI to abandon whatever type of cloak of justice, fairness, not partisan. He wants the FBI to be overtly partisan and overtly racist and overtly target populations. Even though they've done that, it's kind of like stop and frisk. If you lived in New York, you lived in a city that had a stop and frisk policy. I lived in New York under David Dinkins. And when Dinkins lost to Giuliani, and then the New York Police Department started talking all kind of shit like, we own the night, we're going to retake the streets. And I got my very first citation within a month of Giuliani being elected. I'd never gotten a parking ticket, nothing. I got my first citation. I had to show up in court. The cops were just in everybody's shit. I even got a ticket under Giuliani for riding my bike on the sidewalk. Quality of life initiatives. And the fucking police were always pieces of shit or bastards. I'm sorry. Sorry, Uncle Chris, every time. But Uncle Chris, me and we had this discussion. But when they take the cloak off, what I say, take the velvet glove off of the hand, he was communicating something. And then I moved to Chicago, where they don't have an official policy of stop and frisk, but they stopping and harassing folks anyway. So what Trump is doing, and you'll notice that just yesterday, he has scuttled all FBI investigations and DOJ investigations into police misconduct. He said that we're going to scuttle the active investigations and we're not going to pick up any more investigations. Trump's policy that he said more than once publicly in his first campaign and his second campaign is that he thinks the police are handicapped. He thinks that the police are not capable of doing their job because there's too much oversight, too much regulation, and too many penalties. He has encouraged police to engage in crimes against citizens. He literally said, when you arrest somebody and you bang their head against the roof of the car when you're putting them in, he said because of defund the police, which didn't happen, and because of other protest movements, the police are afraid to do their job. The police cannot utilize their force their ability and their skill to enforce the law. So anybody that think because he's purging segments of the FBI, there's two components of the FBI that he wants to purge. Number one, he is a lifelong career criminal. Donald Trump, the convicted felon, the proven sexual predator, because he lost a civil suit. He lost a civil suit against a woman who accused him of sexual assault. And when OJ lost the civil suit, lost that wrongful death suit, even though he wasn't criminally liable, white folks said OJ is a murderer, and he lost the civil suit. And even though he was found not guilty criminally, but he lost it. So white folks say OJ is a murderer through the court of law. So if OJ is a killer, Trump is a predator. And so he is a career criminal with multiple bankruptcies, multiple lawsuits. He's one of the most litigious individuals in this country. And he had several open investigations. Trump is targeting the prosecutors and investigators that are looking into him and his friends, looking at foreign entanglements, foreign payoffs, economic corruption. Trump has no intention on stopping the illegal surveillance and harassments of freedom fighters, of activists. It doesn't matter if you're an immigrant activist, a black liberation activist, a LGBTQ, a women's rights. Believe you me, Trump is not going to do anything to stop the FBI's legal and extra legal intrusions into your life. But we got stupid motherfuckers out here seeing Trump firing people from the FBI and going on behind a podium with a presidential seal saying, yeah, I'm going to drain the force and I'm going after the FBI, and certain FBI agents are resigning, and y'all dumb enough to think that Trump is fighting the FBI on our behalf. It's the same thing with the CIA and the IRS. I know black people who've never made enough money to pay federal income tax. Every freaking April or March, they getting a refund check. They don't even make enough money to be eligible to pay federal income tax, and they mad at taxes. Woo, Esme is thirsty for solutions. I tell you what, Esme, I'm going to put, going forward, on the shows where I'm giving analysis and articulating points of views, I will tell you. And in the shows where I'm going to give specific marching orders and instructions, and first, no, let me not say that. I will hashtag. So you don't have to ever ask me that question again. And let me tell you this. There's nothing I'm talking about now, nothing I spoke about in the past, and nothing I will speak about going forward where I have not written, said, sung, rapped, and danced the specific actions one could take. And I know you've been around for a long time hating. All you got to go do is look at the BroDiallo archives. But I digress. That's kind of rude. It's rude. Here I am talking. You want me to talk about something else, as if what I'm talking about ain't. But I'm gonna say, Esme wants to know. Give me my marching orders. Tell me what's commander. I don't want analysis. I want solutions. Always. Okay, fine. I'm going to do a specific solution show. I'm going to tell you step by step. I'm going to even lay out a budget. I'm going to lay out a timeline. And I'm even going to tell you references and outreach. Let's do this. Ask me. She's ready for the revolution. Oh, we got somebody else. Name in hieroglyphics. Hieroglyphics is ready. Okay. I'm going to lay it out. But that ain't where we are now. I'm trying to debunk some fallacies and delusions. Because when I give you the solutions, you're going to have to work with other people. And I tell you all the time, revolution. And this is, wait a minute, listening to revolutionary critical analysis is the solution. There, got your ass. Now what you going to say, ask me. Now what you going to say? Listening to revolutionary, Pan-African, fact-based analysis is the solution. So now I just gave you the solution. Now sit there and listen. Take notes. Oh, what I was saying, IRS. Again with the IRS. Trump is reorienting for decades now. Corporate tax fraud, corporate tax evasion. Trump has not paid taxes for decades. Elon Musk has not paid taxes for decades. The elite libertarians want to shift the tax burden. You'll notice that the Republican talks about how 15% of the population pays 60% of the taxes. So the tax burden is by the people who generate profit. The high income earners and corporate business tax. There was a time where the upper income tax rate was more than 90%. Meaning that if you made a certain amount of money, everything you made you make $1 million, every dollar you make after $1 million, the government takes 90 cents. Now, there was a proposal under the New Deal, under the FDR administration, that the upper income tax rate should be 100%. And the reason that the upper income tax rate should be 100% is they saying that if you allow wealth to concentrate amongst any population or class, it will disrupt the democracy, because democratic or political power is so closely tied to two things: economic power and media power. So the government implemented limitations or a ceiling, upper income tax rate. And what happens also is when people earn so much money, well beyond the money they need to live or satisfy their desires, they begin to gamble with that money. Money becomes an abstraction. Money is not something that you utilize to meet your need. It's something that you utilize to manipulate your environment. And they saw with Prescott Bush and the other Wall Street manipulators that wealthy people are just extremely disruptive, not just to the society, but to the democratic process. And also, what happens when you have large concentrations of wealth, it tends to cause the people who the wealth is being stolen from, the working classes, to have unrest. So it is better to take the money from the rich and redistribute it to the masses through by funding programs, Medicaid, Social Security, GI Bill and grants, and even public works, not just bridges and dams, but also large murals and other cultural elements. And you'll notice after the New Deal, the United States had the longest stretch of economic stability. And at that time, the wealthy elites, the Koch brothers, the libertarian, right-wing, wealthy elite, embarked on a half-century campaign to disrupt and undermine the New Deal. Now, this is all white folks' business. FDR was a racist. The benefits and resources redistributed from the New Deal did not trickle down to black people. We did not get an adequate share of the benefits of the New Deal. Because one thing I say, now repeat, this is something I want Esme to hear and learn. White folks, they always make time for racism. No matter what white people are going through, they always make time for racism. You go back when Russia first began to reclaim Ukraine as its sovereign territory. And while they were being bombed, while they were being chased from their homes, while they were being invaded by a regional superpower, they made time to throw the black folks off the train. They always make time for racism. Even in Palestine, y'all gonna start squirming in your seats. Even in Palestine, under genocidal occupation, the Arab Palestinians make time to engage in racist discrimination against black or African Palestinians. I ain't got to tell you about the poor white folks in America. Poor white folks can be strung out on meth, living in a trailer with no running water, have warrants and court dates and be behind on the child support. A white man could have every problem known to America, but he got time to be racist. Go online and call somebody the N-word anonymously. White folks, no matter what they're going through, there'll never be a time where, there's a meteor coming. We all have to go in the shelter. They're going to put us in the worst part in the bunker if they let us in the bunker at all. No matter what's going on, this country could be invaded by aliens tomorrow. But I digress. Asking about donations. Yeah, hook a brother up. There are the donation options. Thank you very much. But I digress. Where was I? So let's not ever forget, there's no great calamity that's going to happen. There's no great calamity that's going to happen where white folks will not engage, because it hasn't happened. It hasn't. They always make time for racism, no matter what white folks are going through. There were black soldiers in World War II over there rescuing the British and the French from the Nazis, and still being called monkeys. They're black people, even in modern. They had some soccer player playing for some white team, winning all these freaking accolades, winning in playing on behalf, and they throwing bananas on the field. They always make time for racism, no matter how good you're doing by them. So anyway, Trump is not attacking the IRS because it's burdening and financially strangling the people. Under Trump, the IRS is going to carry out more audits against poor and working class people. It's going to be more scrutinizing of the meager benefits given to poor and working class people, and be more aggressive about imposing restrictions on resources that are distributed to poor and white working class people. And the Trump IRS will no longer be looking into corporate tax haven, corporate tax fraud, wealthy individuals. That's what's happening. Trump is targeting the IRS to switch and redirect the tax burden, not to end the tax burden. Same thing with the Department of Education. Black folks is like, yeah, miseducation. They don't teach us our history. They don't teach us what we woo. It's the same thing. Trump is not trying to stop oversight. Trump is not trying to allow for public education from public school system to the university and college level. Their goal there is to completely privatize education. There was a time under Western mercantile and merchant class that education was a privilege. Was not a privilege. It was a privilege, not a right. I hate that word privilege. I don't even know how to use it properly anymore. Y'all keep calling these Urugo Caucasus Mountain Cave Dwellers privileged when they pathological. But anyway, I digress. They call it. There's a word that I never can think to say. Means. Oh yeah, means testing. I always forget that word for some reason when I want to say, oh, what's up, man? I got your invite to the party, man. I'm sorry I missed it. In and out of town. But next thing you invite me to, I don't care. If I have to drop my grandbaby where I stand, I'm coming. Drop everything. I'm not gonna miss another Q throwdown. But where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, the IRS. And the same thing with their migrant policies. Now, I don't think I need to get into black folks, but I do. Because Dr. Umar and other black reactionary, Dr. Fubar, and really are championing this thing about, I saw that. Yeah, making moves, never faking moves. I should have went, man. I forgot. Yeah, you are rising up in the Chicago hierarchy. You about to be the man, and God damn it, I know I messed up not going to that to rub elbows with the black communities. Who's who? Next time, man. Where I saw that, man. I'll be watching from the sidelines, from outside the club. Can't get in. I see what you're up to. I'll be watching and having a little hateration. You know, it ain't BroDiallo without some hateration. Look at. I'm like, sitting there eating a donut. I'm like, look at that. Look at that. Anyway, where was I? So, black folks are beefing with migrants. And we have prominent blacks like Dr. Fubar who are mad at the Venezuelans. And what's fucked up about the Venezuelans, it just makes me so mad that I can't get into this. Let me rush this. Venezuela had a socialist revolution for a long time. Before you heard of Venezuela was an oligarchy ran by hand-picked puppets of the U.S. empire. They had a revolution, and there was a coalition between the black and the indigenous and the Spaniards who were leftist, progressive, socialists, and they had what was called the Bolivarian Revolution. And the Bolivarian Revolution happened hand in hand with the leftist and progressive uprising in Brazil. They were in close concert and educated by the Cuban Revolution. And so they had their revolution. And this is known. I don't know how many people knew it. Maduro ruined everything. Look at this shit. Yeah, New York. Yeah. Oh my God, Maduro. Oh, somebody said, oh Lord. I mean, let me tell you something. One time, I went to a Del Jones lecture. And I met Del Jones. And Dale Jones, when my wife and I had first met, and our 22-year-old son was a little bitty baby, and he used to talk to us about our relationship, and my wife would tell Dale all the bad things I was doing, and Dale Jones would curse me out and say, "Get it together, brother, be a family man." And one time he looked out at the crowd, and he said, "I get tired of doing the remedial work. I get tired of doing the remedial work." Then he paused. Then he continued to do the remedial work. Talking about shit I think I should. Having to say shit I don't think Maduro didn't. Maduro ruined everything like God. But I can't be mad at you. I'm mad at the propaganda system. You're a victim of propaganda. And the fact that you're here, even if you're here spewing nonsense, welcome, New York, or the infamous. You truly are. That comment is infamous. But anyway, Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in South America. Venezuela is the Saudi Arabia of the South American subcontinent, South American continent. So before, all of the wealth of the oil wealth of Venezuela was going through a group of small families, not even a party. That country was run by some elite white families. Y'all don't believe that y'all think south of the U.S. border, it's all brown people. Y'all just refuse to accept that just like the United States, just like North America, South America was invaded by Europeans. Spain and Portugal is in Europe. Those are white folks. And Spanish and Portuguese are white languages. And Latin languages. Romantic language from Rome. But y'all think those white people somehow became brown, while the white folks up here are still white folks. Can you imagine that every white person that went to Mexico, Costa Rica, Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, every white person that went there all of a sudden became brown, became ethnic? That's crazy to me that y'all don't accept that there are white folks down there, Nazis, racist, supremacists, genociders, but I digress. So the indigenous, black, mestizo, mixed race people rose up and they said, we're going to stop allowing Venezuela oil wealth to go to a small family and go to corporate profits for European, Canadian, and American corporations and investors. And we're going to nationalize the oil infrastructure and oil revenues, and we're going to build schools. We're going to build hospitals. We're going to build and expand housing. We're going to bring more indigenous people and start to honor the treaties and agreements with it. We're going to end the brutality and the death squads and all of that. And a former freedom fighter, a former guerrilla took power. And they tried coup d'etats. They tried embargoes. They tried to barricade. They tried a relentless anti-Venezuelan propaganda. They literally engaged in a blow-by-blow economic hitman. Go read Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And everything in that book, line by line, step by step, was carried out against Venezuela. The United States and its allies embarked on a destabilization campaign, which is illegal. At the same time, they telling you these people, and at the same time, there was a man by the name of Hugo Chavez, who was an indigenous Venezuelan, a former freedom fighter, and he died of this rare brain cancer because they don't snipe you anymore. Biochemical warfare. You can't convince me that the Obama administration did not carry out a biochemical assassination, because we already have documents and FOIA documents where they have all these needles and all this other little shit. They jig you with the needles or allow, they put bombs in Fidel's cigar. So Hugo Chavez was assassinated by the Obama administration while all this shit is going on, and then Maduro. But then they started to isolate. The United States created a fascist uprising, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Colombia, and so they started taking down all these progressive movements and revolutions to the point where the last two standing was Cuba and Venezuela. And because of all of the illegal economic sabotage and blockade, not letting resources in or out. But at that same time, during the Bolivarian Revolution, they gave billions of dollars to the Haitian government. They sent medical supplies and support during Hurricane Katrina. The Venezuelans, throughout their revolution, held solidarity and support for the Black community here in the United States, for the Black people in the Caribbean under European assault, under American imperialism, and on the African continent. The Venezuelan revolution said we are a socialist, anti-imperialist, anti-colonial force, and they took oil money and was giving it to freedom fighters all over the fucking world. And we got fucking Dr. Fubar Johnson sitting here complaining about them begging on the streets and complaining about them getting $50 million. But according to these crackers' laws, they have to. Refugee is a legal status, and they're all treaty nations that are members of the UN have to respect the rights of refugees. The United States is engaged in breaking its own laws and its own treaty obligations and its abuse. Go look at Hugo Chavez. Go look up, and you got people here. Maduro's a monster. He can't manage his economy. You got a nuclear superpower that won't let you trade, that won't let resources into or out of your country. And then when your people start to starve, they want to look at you. And the only crime Maduro committed was that he wouldn't allow for unmitigated capitalist exploitation of his nation and resources. That's the only fucking crime he's done. You really think if Hugo Chavez was really a bad guy, he would be demonized in the media? If Hugo Chavez was truly if Maduro was really a bad guy, he would be treated like Netanyahu. He would be treated like the Saudi princes and all the other dictators. You want to know a true dictator? Then look at who the United States says is a freedom fighter and a champion. If the U.S. is against you, let me tell you something. What did Bobby Wright say? If all white folks are against you, you're doing something right. We fall for the propaganda. And all that to say is that's what caused this refugee immigrant crisis is caused by U.S. imperialism. If you're against immigrants and you don't mention imperialism, you're a dumb fuck, a piece of shit, and an idiot, Dr. Fubar. Anybody talking about migrants and immigrants taking jobs and all that bullshit and do not talk about the international war crimes and the violation of sovereignty by the U.S. empire is a tool or a fool. Which is it? Are you a tool or a fool, Dr. Fubar? And so, when the Venezuelans come here, and Haiti never paid that money back. Venezuelan government, we all talk about how we love Haiti and liberate Haiti and U.S. imperialism in Haiti. And Hugo Chavez and Maduro gave Haiti billions of dollars. And then the former president of Haiti said, I'm going to support the United States against Venezuela, and I ain't paying y'all back shit. The Haitian people didn't, but the Haitian government betrayed the Bolivarian Revolution. Every conscious African who wants liberation and power for African people should be in solidarity with the Bolivarian Revolution. And we got our most prominent black leaders walking up and down the street complaining. And then the U.S., then the Chicago says, listen, these governments, these state governments in Florida and in Texas are sending thousands of Venezuelans. And we see them all up and down the streets. And so they said we have to allocate some funds. We are obligated by our treaty obligations to provide housing, legal services, and resources for these people. And he gave them $50 million, which doesn't equate. Do you know the NYPD, not NYPD, the Chicago Police Department lost the local government. We had to pay over half of $500 million in police misconduct penalties from lawsuits and penalties. And I ain't heard one black leader say shit about the money that we have to pay out for police misconduct and the money that we gave to the Venezuelan and other refugees, and the Honduran, the same thing. The United States, the reason you got a Honduran crisis, is because of Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration carried out a coup d'etat, a right-wing fascist coup d'etat. Same thing, and the Mexicans though. Some of y'all just don't. Y'all think they're all Mexicans. Go look up maquiladoras. If you want to stop the Mexicans from coming here, stop. Don't you know the tens of thousands of trucks that come across that southern border, bringing resources from Mexico to the United States? Mexico is not poor. Mexico is exploited. And you know goddamn well, if you're sitting here right now, and a large part of America's resources and wealth was loaded onto trucks and driven down to Mexico, your raggedy ass would be right behind them trucks chasing your resource. And if you want to cut off Mexican people, cut off Mexican resources. And I guarantee and I promise you, Mexicans won't come here no more. You might want to come to this square dance, honky tonk ass country. So migration, it's crazy that black people are believing that Trump, and I promise you, go ask some stupid ass black Trump supporter if his employment prospects have gotten any better since all the migrants got kicked out. Medicaid, USA. I already talked about USA with Geechee. How y'all talk about US aid and cutting off US aid. I'm not going to rehash that. I'm not going to make y'all suffer through that because we've gone through quite a bit. But him calling the cartels terrorist organizations, when literally the cartels only exist for two reasons: U.S. desire for drugs and U.S. production of weapons. U.S. and Israeli weapons. The United States, if the cartels are terrorists, then the United States is a sponsor of terrorism. That's what they say when they go after the terrorists, they don't just go after the people committing the terrorist acts. They want to go after the money. They want to go after the funding. They want to go out to the weapon supplier. So U.S. small arms manufacturers, every CEO of small arms manufacturing company should be locked the fuck up. Should be locked the fuck up. Right now, today. Because there would be no cartels. Their weapons and money come from us. Come from us. And we also found out, remember, this got swept under the rug. Every single major international bank has been found to be laundering drug money. And they didn't do shit. Nobody went the fuck to jail. So the CEOs of Deutsche Bank, Citibank, Bank of America, all their fucking administrators, they are state funders or funders of terror. Lock them all. Take them motherfuckers to Guantanamo. But y'all, you think he's going to do that? Oh, yeah, he's going after the cartels. Let me tell you something. Under Trump, not one addict in America is going to go to sleep without their fix. He ain't about to do shit. This state sponsor, when they throw that is a money grab. Whenever these right-wingers are terrorism, that ain't nothing but a cash grab. They made like $2 trillion off of terrorism. The war on terrorism, they netted trillions of dollars in profit. It's just like when they would call shit communism. Oh, there's communism in Grenada. Ain't nothing but nutmeg and black folks trying to live a good life in Grenada. Nothing else. Communism in Grenada, communism in the Congo, communism in Vietnam. They would say communism and they'd run over there with weapons and come back with billions of dollars, or come back with oil, or come back with bauxite, or come back with gold. You know how many tons of gold they stole from Iraq? And we sitting here, we got black folks saying, Trump's going after the cartels. You stupid motherfucker. What did Bushwick? Rest in peace, Bushwick. Bushwick Bill, and I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Bushwick Bill said, "When will you stupid motherfuckers learn? In this game, one way or another, you get burned." And we have time to get to the solution. I'm yes, Dark Alliances. Thank you. It's me. I won her over. Uh, if that was me, she was talking about. Yes. Shout out to Gary Webb, who was also assassinated. Somebody came to his door and shot him in the chest. He was just a journalist. And then we look overseas. They're killing journalists overseas. You know the worst thing that I ain't gonna say it's worse, but you know what the United States, what's United States don't even have to kill journalists because nobody reads. You won't have to take out journalists if you just make your whole population illiterate. It's mutual, sister. It's mutual. I have love for y'all too. So I'm gonna have a short question, comments, criticism, real short. It's going to be a speed run. So if you want to type the question, comment, or criticism in the thing, because I have to wrap this up. I really was planning on wrapping this up earlier. Thank you again. Integer has been dropping us some gems, been setting me straight on Black History Month. And shout out to that. So shout out to Carter G. Woodson, one of our greatest. And I live just 2 or 3 blocks from the Woodson Library. Thank you for everyone who made a positive contribution to our just aspiration and supporting the BroDiallo Show in any way possible. And of course, go and subscribe to our cooperative channel, African World Order, if you haven't already. Mad projects and content coming through over there. Okay, so let's go. Where's the question? Oh, YouTube academia. Why do you think folks on BNL panel promote Putin's ideas? Because there are some people whose analysis is surface, and they think that anything that's against the United States must be in the interest of our people. I didn't see the panel, and I don't know specifically what was said, but a lot of Black people, BLM, and further to the left of BLM, have a relatively favorable position on Putin. But Putin is not a communist. Putin has come out several times to denounce communism and has no intentions on rebuilding or reestablishing the Soviet Union. Putin is a dictator, but the problem is because the United States is in conflict with Putin, and people are so simplistic. Like when you see me critiquing the Republicans and critiquing Republican fascism, they jump immediately say, "So you said vote blue no matter who," which I didn't say that, but people are simplistic. So if I am speaking in criticism of Putin, who is also a far right reactionary, he is far right. He is anti-communist. But one thing he is in his nationalistic position, he does have many common enemies. You know, NATO. NATO is an extremely insidious imperialistic entity that has no justification for existence. NATO should have never existed, but it definitely shouldn't exist beyond the Soviet Union. The very purpose for which NATO was established was dissolved, and there were agreements between what's that the alcoholic dude? I can't even remember his name, but between first Bush and then Bill Clinton and what's that guy's name? I know somebody on. It was first Gorbachev and then Boris Yeltsin. Jeez, woo, Boris Yeltsin. So Boris Yeltsin and Mikhail Gorbachev had gotten certain guarantees from the U.S. and its Western European allies to say, listen, if I dissolve the Soviet Union and I give the former Soviet bloc, if I basically open up the Iron Curtain and end the evil empire, as Reagan called it, you guys will not expand NATO. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to expand NATO and we're going to dissolve it. And not only did the U.S. expand NATO, the U.S. has taken an extremely aggressively posture. So Putin, as bad as an individual he is fighting from my point of view, against expansion. And but that's the whole thing. But my main thing is a lot of black people on the left or progressive still give Russia a lot of weight and consideration because of the Soviet Union and what the Soviet Union did in terms of especially working against Western imperialism in Africa. And Soviet Union aligned with from everything from the Congo and Patrice Lumumba, uh, and Kenya, Rhodesia, later Zimbabwe, and Zambia, South Africa. So I think we just have a hard time accepting that Russia is a new entity with a new perspective and a new agenda. So I am not a fan of Putin. Putin is racist and has made some extremely racist comments. And Putin is serving his interest. And there are some people believe that Putin can be allied with or is deserving and supporting because of his opposition to U.S. imperialist interest. That can be discussed, but ultimately, I think that's a losing proposition. But if you, again, there are so many simplistic people that think if you're criticizing Putin, then you're obviously in favor of the U.S. and its agenda. And it's possible to be against both. I've done that. What the fuck? I've done that, JJ. I've done that. And you might have to just go look for it. Okay, so it says, how can we combat the rise of spirituality, traditional values in regards to fascism and the right wing? Hmm. It's funny that you would mention that because Nazism had a very strong spiritual angle, but I think we fight it in the same way where indoctrination makes you immune to facts. So a lot of times, secular, agnostic, and atheist people think we have the facts and we have a rational argument. But we do need counter propaganda, counter indoctrination, and I know people don't believe this, but mocking the sacred, things that are held sacred. How dare you? The spiritual leaders, the religious leaders, the cult leaders, and the institutions exposing the crimes, the contradictions, and also mocking and demeaning. Secondly, that's one attack. Secondly, we have to build counter institutions. There are a lot of services that spiritual and religious community give. And even when people retreat to traditional values, they go there for security. And the reality is there's no real tangible security there. So if we start to organize, collectivize, and pool our resources, we can build viable alternatives. So relentless attack, demeaning, mockery, and building alternatives is the way. Yes, the revolutionary. I'm like I said, I've been cautiously optimistic about what's going on in the Sahel, and I also am happy that the sentiment and understanding is spreading. I was very happy to see the Sahel leaders um, in Ghana. So they're widening their scope. There are some things I don't like, and I know y'all don't want to hear about that, and some things to give me pause and caution. But overall, my attitude is positive and optimistic. Um, and yes, it has a very, very broad revolutionary potential, but we don't count victories until they're won. So it is a process, it's not an event. The event of the coup is much different than the liberation, but it seems to be on a positive trajectory with some missteps. So I've always been in favor of, which got me in a lot of trouble. People make fun of me because I get kind of pushed out of groups and organizations, but I think you have to be internally revolution as external. So as you transform the external things, you have to also fight within. So as you're fighting foreign enemies, you have to transform yourself and have cultural revolution. So, but ultimately, when I sit down to read viable and legitimate sources of information coming out of the region, I'm generally happy and more positive than feeling of despair or anxious. Where you been at, Dennis? I told you I didn't call out Tariq not shit and FBI. Where y'all? I've done whole shows on FBA and ADOS. Get a late pass. But yes, I think I will every time. I absolutely publicly denounce Tariq not shit. But I was calling out Tariq not shit even before he started this FBA cult. Even before. He's been on some bullshit way back when. He's been on bullshit for over a decade. You know. And some people that I know that appear on his panels, and when he was doing all that living color bullshit, I was calling out people like, why are you showing up for this motherfucker? And they were like, well, I'm just here to get the word out, trying to make excuses. But I've been on that. Yeah, I don't like charlatans. I don't like con men. I don't like petty hustlers. And I don't like fucking liars and opportunists, especially within the arena of Black liberation, Black power, Black solution. But yes, Dennis, I've done it. I just would like to get credit for what I've done in the past, and I will continue to do so in the future. And that's that. I got to go. I have to go. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and showing out. I appreciate y'all. Like, share, subscribe. I wish I could get to more. I will make more time for Q&A going forward. Let me not say it, but then I can't afford to replace it. Shit. Okay, but I should be gone anyway. I appreciate y'all. Go subscribe to African World Order, and then you can see Brother James showing up and showing out with the, and we got other recurring guests on the Class Con Critiques. Skip, I got to holler at Skip. You know, I was out of town for the last of our contractors out printing, so we're coming through with merch. The album coming through. I'm headed back to LA. Boy, let's get another fantastic revolutionary, my brother from motherland. So there's a lot going on, but ain't anything happening. And that's me. We're gonna have solutions. I'm going to make. Not only am I going to discuss next Monday specific solution for ESPN, I'm going to tell you specifically how you can unite or work directly or indirectly with me towards those solutions. So y'all ready for revolution? Fine. The people make the call. I'm going to answer the call and see who's really real. All right, for that, until next time.